Nancy Pelosi on the Democratic side will support it. So my guess, and it's not much better than that, is that there will be enough Republicans and certainly enough Democrats to get it through the House, and then obviously to the president for signing, which he will do, presumably or hopefully before default really sets in. Aside from that, the city's doing great, and we're just looking to get back into business.
We've got Dr. Jack Caravelli with us today, and you are always a spot on with your analysis and everything each and every Wednesday. Lignet.com is another spot where you can get more information on what Dr. Jack and his cohorts in Washington are up to. And this is this whole government shutdown in relating to the debt ceiling. I noticed that just from various things that were said and various things that were brought out over the last couple weeks, a lot of the Republican donors and a lot of and even the Democratic donors, there was a lot of people that was like, hey, do the government shutdown thing, that's cool. And then when they were like, well, we're not gonna budge on the debt ceiling either, that's when all of a sudden everybody's like, no, you don't need to go that far.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, they are horses of a different color. Yeah. Shutting down the government really has imposed sort of a pain to a lot of very good people around the country, and that's obviously unfortunate. And we need to find a better way of doing that. But there are even bigger, I guess, there's a larger stake in if we were to default as a nation, something we really have never done, and that would that has really global implications in terms of our credibility, in terms of the fact that many nations around the world really depend on us as a reserve currency, and it is very interesting that even people like the head of the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde, Chinese leaders, others around the world, the Europeans have said, please do not default, because the message there and the ripples in the pond are so potentially profound that we would prefer you to get your own house in order. So we'll see what the next 24 hours brings. But you're right to highlight, James, that the debt issue is extraordinarily important with huge implications, not only here but around the world.
We've got Dr. Jack Caravelli with us today here on the program, as we do each and every Wednesday around this time, to discuss news and views. Now, something else that I wanted to get your thoughts on, Dr. Jack, is this situation with the government shutdown and it being a partial shutdown. We went through this list yesterday with a few of our regulars, and I am astounded the fact that the essential and non-essential, for instance, the non-essential, the clinical trials at the National Institute of Health, that's non-essential. Send those guys home. The Nobel Prize-winning physicist who was working on the cure for cancer, send him home. The EPA cleaning up the toxic waste sites, send them packing. However, the entire CIA that was sent home, and then they realized, oh crap, nobody's paying attention. We need to bring them all back. And then apparently in Utah, the Utah National Guard needed a mechanical bull so they could do training at $47,174 to buy this new mechanical bull. That was fine, spend that money. But we're going to send all these other people home. What is going on out there?
Well, again, it's part of the Gong Show, I think. It is really, and again, for people that haven't had the fortune or misfortune of living inside the Washington Beltway, I mean, it is chaotic. It is really irrational in many ways, and you just pointed out some of the really big ones. I was serving in government during the last shutdown 17 years ago, and I mean, it is messy. A lot doesn't get done. There's a lot of uncertainty, And again, how one defines essential or non-essential is so, people will claim that there's a rationality to it, but I will tell you, having been inside the system and seen it operate, it is the looniest thing that you can imagine, trying to define that. And, maybe at some point, smarter people than what we have now will figure out a more logical system that, again, doesn't hurt, critical research, but, maybe sets aside for a few weeks some of the truly non-essential activities. I sure can't defend it, and I'm even less good, James, at probably explaining it.
We've got Dr. Jack Caravelli with us today. Lignet is the place to get more information on what Dr. Jack is up to at 55 minutes after the hour here on the program. Tell us about what's going on over at Lignet this week with the impending government shutdown, I guess, possibly coming to an end here fairly soon.
Well, we've been working. We're in the private sector, as you know, and we just work away. I am blessed to have some very good writers and a very good staff that supports what we do. We did a good piece this week, actually, on the international global meeting that was held in Washington. It did take place. The International Monetary Fund and the World Bank together held their annual meeting. It's always held in Washington. I had a good staff member there, and we did some very good reporting on that. We're also reporting on the talks that began yesterday in Geneva between the international community, the so-called P5+1, the U.S., the U.K., the Germans, the Russians, the Chinese, and the French, talking with Iran on its nuclear program. The Iranians, as you know, James, have been trying to find a relief from the sanctions that have been pulverizing their economy, and it looks like they've come back to the table with at least some possible interesting ideas that I think we should explore, but again, do so with great caution and with the attitude that if they want relief from sanctions, they really need to demonstrate, they need to prove, that they are really prepared to pursue a peaceful nuclear path rather than the weapons path that I think they've been on for years.
We've got Dr. Jack Caravelli joining us, as he does each and every week. And, Doctor, do you think that we're going to have more problems with this government shutdown, even if they go ahead and prolong it till, I believe, January or something I heard earlier today?
Well, look, I mean, even stepping back from this mess we've been in for, 16 or 17 days, James, the government is so divided, is so polarized that, the people's business, the good of the country, is really not getting done. What they've done, if it passes, and again, we're still not there yet, in the House of Representatives, if it passes, we kick the can down the road again until January and February, which obviously, at least on my calendar, is not that far away. We should be passing full budgets every year to fund the government. We haven't done that for about 5 years. If people have problems with Obamacare, with the Health Care Act, they need to be taking that up. There are many unresolved problems that this nation has. Its infrastructure needs great care. Our educational system needs care. Immigration is a major problem. And the fact of the matter is, even beyond, this current mess in Washington, the current cast of characters, liberal and conservative, Democrat and Republican, they are not doing the people's business. They're not acting, in my judgment, for the good of the country. And we have got to find either some better way of getting people there that we're willing to, compromise, move things forward, or we're going to find ourselves, down the road at some point, really as a very struggling, mediocre, second-rate nation. There is nothing that guarantees that we remain a global power, a global shining beacon for the world, accept the work all of us do and the way our government acts. Nothing is guaranteed to us, but we act like, at least in Congress, that they can do whatever they want and it makes no difference. Well, I think they're wrong. So we will see what the next few months brings, but there is no guarantee, given the recent past, that we won't have more problems in January and February.
Well, Dr. Jack, I always appreciate your insight. Check out Lignet.com. And Dr. Jack, we'll talk to you next week, sir.
James, as always, a pleasure to chat with you and share ideas with your listeners, and hope you have a good week.